Welcome to Echo 371, Study Session 1, Meaning and Scope of Public Finance. Introduction. This course kickstarts with a session that discusses public finance as a field of economics that is concerned with how government raise money, how that money is spent, and the effect of these activities on the economy and on society. This session will therefore expose you to how government at all levels, that is national, state, and local government, provide the public with the desired services and how they secure the financial resources to pay for these services. Learning outcomes. After you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Define and use correctly the term public finance. 2. Explain the objectives of public finance. 3. Point out the sources of government revenue. 4. Discuss the roles of government towards curtailing market imperfection. Meaning of public finance. Public finance can be defined as a financing of government economic activities. It deals with the finance operation of the government, the financial development of the government, and other corresponding activities of the government. The finances of the government include the raising and spending of government funds. Earlier writers on the subject also defined public finance in different ways. Taylor, 1957, for example, says, public finance deals with finance of the public as an organized group under the institution of the government. Musgrave, 1956, says the complexity of problems that centered on the revenue and expenditure process of government is referred to traditionally as public finance. Public finance does not only deal with the way public funds operate, it also deals with the effect on the economy, which may include allocation of resources, adjustment in the distribution of income and wealth, stabilization of prices and employment, capital formation, and economic growth. The study of public finance in various aspects is connected with the formulation and execution of budgetary and fiscal policy, such as effect of taxation, expenditure, and public debt. Objectives of public finance. The objectives of public finance are the following. A. To identify all sources of revenue as well as diversify the revenue base of the government. B. To develop a coherent and sound fiscal policy with the aim of promoting economic growth. C. To influence the level of aggregate demand, reduce inflation, and the level of unemployment. D. To correct balance of payment disequilibrium through fiscal policy. E. To stabilize the economy in periods of boom or depression. F. To correct or offset undesirable side effects of a market economy. These side effects are called spillovers or externalities, e.g., pollution. Government revenue and expenditure. Government revenue. Government revenue is the income that accrues to the government in order to finance its economic activities and protection of the economy from external aggression. Sources of government revenue. The sources of government revenue can be categorized into tax and non-tax revenue. Tax income are the revenue derived from taxation, while non-tax income are the revenues derived from other sources of government revenue such as borrowing, grants, aids, profit or earnings from public enterprises, printing and minting of money, fees and fines, and other charges. The following are some of the sources of government revenue. A. Taxation. Taxation is the compulsory levy imposed on individuals, corporate bodies, goods, and services. They can be classified into direct and indirect taxes. Taxation is one of the main sources of government revenue in Nigeria. B. Borrowing. This is a temporary source of revenue to the government. Governments can borrow or obtain loan from individuals or financial institutions, both within and outside the country, which require future repayment of both the principal and interest as a reward for parting with the capital. When borrowing is not properly managed, it can lead to debt burden since it carries the clause of ability of the borrower to pay back. C. Grants and aids. These represent financial assistance that flow from richer countries and corporate institutions to the poorer countries without any condition for repayment from the donor country. This has contributed to the growth of world economy since it is a way of maintaining international liquidity worldwide. D. Profits or earnings from public enterprises. These are income or dividend received yearly by the government from investment, stock appreciation, redeemed debentures, or interest paid to government from the loans it has granted to other countries. Also, the proceeds from the sale of certain products or services by government agencies or corporations are sources of government revenue. E. Printing and minting of money. Government can raise money through printing of currency. This can be done through the nation's central bank by printing a specified quantity of money as directed by the government and using it to finance its expenditure. Excessive printing of money can lead to excess money supply in the economy and can create inflationary pressure in a developing economy like Nigeria. So government can only increase the printing and minting of money as a source of revenue based on the pace of economic activities. F. Royalties and rent. Government also collects rent for the use of public land as a reward, compensation to the landowner. Governments also collect royalties from the companies that are granted the right to exploit mineral resources. All these generate income to the government. G. Fees, fines, and other charges. These include license fees, school fees, certificate of occupancy fees, court fine, etc. All these generate income for the government. Roles of government. As a result of market imperfection, the market alone cannot allocate resources efficiently. Hence, there is the need for the government to intervene. Here are some of the roles performed by the government. A. Provision and maintenance of infrastructure. Some public goods, that is, goods jointly consumed, are usually provided by the government because many people benefit from these public goods and share consumption. Those who do not pay for these goods still get to use them. Such goods include good roads, water supply, electricity supply, etc. Their large consumption requires large-scale production, and their cost of production is usually high. It is usually impossible to produce enough by the private sector to reach efficient level of output. Therefore, government intervention becomes necessary to correct these imbalances. B. Correction of market failure. The government attempts to adjust the production and consumption of particular goods and services where private markets fail to produce efficient level of output for those products. Government plays a moderating role by ensuring that there is equitable production of goods in the economy. C. Maintenance of macroeconomic policies. In order to facilitate the effective working of the economy, government usually designs and implements monetary and fiscal policies. This is to help establish stability in prices, employment, and economic growth. For instance, if inflation is too high because consumers, businesses, and government are buying more goods and services than it is possible to produce at the same time, the government can reduce total spending in the economy by reducing its own expenditure or increasing taxes on households and business to reduce the amount of money the private sector spends. Such fiscal policy will help to reduce inflation in the economy. D. Income distribution. Government attempts to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor in form of taxation and establishment of non-profit organizations that will provide employment and welfare support services, e.g. vocational training for the youth. E. Maintenance of law and order. The federal government provides legal protection to individuals in the forms of right to ownership of property and investment, freedom of expression, movement and association. Government enforces these laws through establishment of courts, and the police force is charged with the responsibility of enforcing the laws. Adjusting for external costs or benefits. Government adjusts the effect of either the production or consumption of goods by some economic agent which affect other economic agents who do not participate directly in their production or consumption. These external costs or benefit is known as externality or spillover effect, and it is government that attempts to correct this externality through regulation, taxation, and so on. Factors militating against government in performing its functions. In spite of the importance of government roles in the economy, there are some factors that are militating against government in performing its functions. These are: 1. Misallocation of resources. Government's economic programs are not always successful in correcting market failures. Just as markets fail to produce the right amount of certain kinds of goods and services, the government spends too much on some sectors of the economy and little on others, which do not make government to achieve desired result. 2. Inefficiency and ineffectiveness of government corporations. The administration of government may not be efficient and effective enough to undertake the production and distribution of goods and services that are public in nature. 3. Inadequate resources. The government may not have enough resources, especially in an underdeveloped country, to provide the goods and services that ought to be provided by the government on the ground of publicness. There are large numbers of goods and services needed in public sector, but the government cannot afford to undertake all these activities. E.g., there is the need to develop on large-scale roads, healthcare facilities, and so on. 4. Political influences. Elected officials generally try to respond to the wishes of the voting public when making decisions that affect the economy. Resources are allocated through political process instead of economic process. The problem of special interest group looms large. For example, many policies such as tariff or quota on imported goods create very large benefits for small groups of people and firms, while the costs are spread out across a large number of people that give those who receive the benefit strong reasons to lobby for the policy, while those who pay a small part of the cost are unlikely to oppose it actively. This situation can occur even if the overall cost of the program greatly exceeds its overall benefit. Summary. In this session, you learn that public finance is an aspect of economics which studies the financial and economic activities of government in relation to its income and expenditure. No doubt, this session helped you to understand the objective of public finance as identification of sources of government revenue, development of fiscal policy in regulating the economy, correcting of balance of payment disequilibrium, correction of undesirable side effect of a market economy. We have been able to also identify the various sources of government revenue, such as taxation, borrowing, grants and aids, printing and minting of money, fees and fines. This is the end of study session 1. Thanks for listening.